Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of college basketball. Game of the week, game of the month, who knows, maybe game of the year. All I know is the Purdue Boilermakers defended our house, taking down the previously number two ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. But without further ado, let's run it. Oh my Lord, what a game. This game had everything. Both defenses locking down to start, adjustments, lineup switches, and then the offensive showdown we all expected. I was lucky enough to be at this game in person, and it was one of the greatest atmospheres I've witnessed in Mackey during my time here at Purdue. So much at stake, two fantastic basketball teams, and some fantastic moments. Let's dive in. I knew this game was going to be crazy when the first points scored were a TKR 3 thrown up in desperation at the end of a shot clock. But outside of that, a Cliff Amorie dunk and a Braden Smith layup, no other shots were made throughout the entirety of the first 5 minutes of the game, which was very surprising given the offensive firepower on both teams. But both teams got going after that, with Caleb first giving some solid minutes off the bench, TKR getting his while being the focal point of the offense for most of the first half, and Alabama spreading the ball around and seemingly everyone except Mark Sears getting buckets or finding their way to the free throw line. Both teams found their way to the free throw line quite a bit in the first half, with Alabama getting the upper hand, hitting 11 out of 12, while Purdue still did well for themselves, going 8 for 9. Mark Sears hit 4 of Alabama's 11 free throw makes in just the last minute, getting him up to 10 on the half, but he didn't seem like his usual self, especially from deep. Felt like neither team shot very well from three in the first half. Alabama only shot 1 for 9, and they couldn't even really get the open ones to fall. Didn't seem great for Purdue either, but two threes by Lawyer in the final 5 minutes put Purdue at 4 for 10 for the half and got them right back to their average. Speaking of Lawyer threes, for the second game in a row, Lawyer hit a buzzer-beating three to end the half, and the whole arena erupted. That put Purdue up 42 to 40 in a hard-fought first half, and we all knew it was going to be right back to business as soon as the second half started. The Crimson Tide found the three to start the second, with LeBaron Philon and Latrell Wrightsell Jr. both knocking down their first threes of the half within the first 2 minutes, and Purdue saw their very small lead vanish quickly. This was where Alabama started to show that dynamic shooting that we expected to see all game. They went 6 for 8 from three over the course of the first 9 minutes of the second half on their way to taking a 6 point lead at the 11-minute mark, 65 to 59. Now here's where the momentum flipped on its head. With a couple of buckets from TKR and Braden Smith in the following possessions, Purdue cut Alabama's lead back to 2, and we were about to witness arguably the most electric singular minute in Mackey Arena history. On three straight possessions, true freshman guard CJ Cox was feeling it, hitting an and one three on the first possession before coming down the next two and taking not one but two heat checked threes and drilling both. Before we could even stop cheering for the first one or the second one, Purdue held a 7 point lead, 72 to 65. By this point, I'm not even sure if sound was coming out of my mouth. I was screaming so much, but I was not alone. The whole arena was losing it. Alabama tried to fight back, but the Boilers refused to step off the gas. Cam Heide hit a three to extend the lead right back to 7, and they just couldn't hit enough shots to put serious pressure on Purdue in the final minutes. The Boilers once again weren't perfect from the free throw line, but they knocked down 7 of 10 from the line to hold onto their lead and finish with a final score of 87 to 78. Heading into the top performers, at the top is Trey Kaufman-Renn with an absolute legacy game. He leads Purdue with 26 points on 12 of 23 shooting. 1 for 1 from three on that prayer thrown up in the beginning of the game. 8 rebounds and 4 assists in 30 minutes. Behind him, Braden Smith, who completely outdueled Mark Sears, cementing himself as, quite honestly, very likely the best point guard in the country. In this game, he had 17 points, not his best shooting night, only 6 for 18 from the floor, couldn't find one from deep. He was 0 for 4 from the 3 point line, but 5 for 6 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 steal, and only 1 turnover in 37 minutes. A 10 to 1 assist to turnover ratio is incredible. For Alabama, LeBaron Philon led the way. Freshman, by the way, he really impressed me with 18 points on a very efficient 7 of 10 shooting, 3 for 4 from three, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, but he did foul out in 27 minutes. Behind him, Mark Sears managed to still find his way up with 15 points on An iffy 5 of 15 shooting, 1 for 6 from 3, which is very unlike him. He can shoot it from almost anywhere in the half court, but he was struggling in this one. 4 for 4 from the free throw line with 4 rebounds, 6 assists, but he had 4 turnovers in his 35 minutes. Honorable mentions, we've got, a little addition visitor, but we have to start off, of course, with Fletcher Loyer, who continues to just score the ball at will and shoot the ball fantastically for Purdue. He ends up with 17 of his own on 5 of 9 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, continues to just shoot the three ball so well. It's been incredible to watch to start the season, adding on 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal in his 31 minutes. And of course, I have to put a second one up for Purdue. I have to mention CJ Cox with that absolutely generational run of 1 minute and like 11 seconds or something like that. He ends up with 11 points on 4 of 5 shooting, that perfect 3 for 3 from 3, and adding a rebound in his 18 minutes. And for Alabama, their honorable mention is Grant Nelson, who played a very efficient game when he was on the floor with 12 points on 5 for 7 shooting. He had 1 for 3 from the 3-point line, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block, but he also fouled out in 29 minutes. Heading into the key team points for Purdue, small ball domination. This was the first game that we saw Purdue commit to going small for most of the game. We only saw 9 minutes out of Berg, and it wasn't very pretty. No shots, 2 rebounds. He did get a block, but he also managed to get 3 fouls in those 9 minutes. 2 of which I didn't really agree with, but they were called anyway. But after that, we saw a lot of small ball with TKR at the 5 and the offense running directly through him, and he was putting Alabama's front court in a torture chamber. Cliff Amorie had the most success against him, but even he got scored on multiple times. TKR drew multiple fouls on him, which is why Cliff only played 22 minutes and put everybody else, they were just baby food guarding TKR. He put Grant Nelson through the spin cycle and found ways to score all over the floor. Purdue still saw some solid minutes out of Burgess and first, but it is clear that Purdue is best with TKR at the 5 and shooters all around him. Secondly, protecting the ball. This was one of Purdue's most put together games thus far this season when they needed it most. For Braden to have 10 assists to only 1 turnover, and the team as a whole only turned the ball over 3 times to Alabama's 8. More possessions allowed Purdue to match Alabama on shot attempts, get fouled more, and shoot 10 more free throws than them, and overall just keep Alabama from getting easy baskets and killing Purdue's momentum. There were a lot of things Purdue stepped up and majorly cleaned up in this game, and the turnovers were a massive one. If Purdue keeps their turnovers to less than 5 a game, which isn't going to be very realistic for every single game, it's going to be a scary season for the rest of the Big Ten. Thirdly is battle on the boards. I knew that Purdue was going to need to be a lot better than they have been in the past when it comes to rebounding, and they may not have won the rebounding battle, but they kept it competitive and they finally attacked the offensive glass more than in any of their other 3 games. The Boilers only were out-rebounded by 2, 37 to 35, and only by 1 on the offensive glass, 11 to 10. Against a much bigger team, I definitely consider that a win, and Purdue needs to take that aggressiveness into their other matchups. If they do, they'll finally get back to out-rebounding teams. And lastly, we have a fourth one, make the free ones. I don't know what it is about this season, but we're just struggling from the free throw line more than usual. 16 for 25 on the night, only good for 64%, and those 9 missed free throws would have been really helpful for putting the game out of reach in those final minutes. TKR has struggled from the line in the past, but he's looked better so far this year up until this game where he went 1 for 4. I would say some of that might be because he was working so hard. He was probably a little bit more gassed than he has been in some of these other games. Heidi wasn't much better at 2 for 4, but those 5 missed free throws were enough to drop that average significantly. They may have gotten away with another poor performance from the line, but there's going to be a close game down the road where they need to hit their free throws, and I hope it falls on a good day. Heading over to Alabama, more shots do not equal more makes. Alabama has not lived up to their typical shooting prowess despite having plenty of guys who can shoot the ball from deep. Anyone who has followed the Crimson Tide at all this season knows that they have a top 5 offense in the country thus far, and they're known for hitting you for easy layups and dunks in the paint or outside from 3. But we've been waiting for the awakening from their shooters, and through 4 games, we just haven't seen it. For as talented of a player as Mark Sears is, he's only shooting 35%, and only Darian Reed is shooting over 40%, and that's just because he's 3 for 7 on the year. In this game, they shot 9 for 29 from three, good for 31%, which is actually above average for them since they've only shot 30% from deep this season. This team is still not afraid to shoot the three, and clearly it hasn't hurt their offensive production too much since they're still averaging 87 points per game. But if they're ever going to reach their full potential and play like a top five team, their shooters are gonna need to get back to being shooters. Secondly is turnovers. Turning the ball over never really leads to a winning formula, but neither does not forcing turnovers. I don't know if it was more of Purdue doing a good job taking care of the ball or Alabama not putting enough pressure on Purdue's ball handlers, but they definitely shot themselves in the foot a bit with 8 turnovers and only causing 3. Now, Mackey Arena definitely had a fair amount to do with some of their turnovers. The paint crew wreaks havoc for any opponent that comes in. But that's what it takes to beat Purdue at home. You have to tame the beast, and in this one, they most definitely did not. And lastly, foul trouble. Once again, Purdue causes foul trouble issues for their opponents. Both Grant Nelson and LeBaron Philon fouled out, and Cliff Amourier ended up with 4 fouls. Alabama had a hard time guarding the basket without fouling. TKR obviously wreaked havoc down there. He was a big reason for the foul trouble on both Cliff and Grant Nelson, and both Braden and Fletcher found their way to the free throw line a fair amount by getting downhill and causing issues at the rim. If the Crimson Tide would have been able to keep Cliff Amourier in the game more, might have had a bit more success guarding TKR, but overall their 22 fouls in the day hurt them across the board. Well, Purdue may have survived this massive test, but they had the paint crew alive and as strong as ever behind them, which they won't have for their next task, taking on number 15 Marquette on their home turf. It will be Purdue's first road game and another huge non-conference challenge as the Boilers try to get battle tested before Big Ten play starts. And the road gets no easier for Alabama either, as this game started their stretch of 6 straight matchups against teams currently ranked in the AP Top 25. This upcoming matchup, they get to play in Tuscaloosa, though, as the Illinois Fighting Illini will look to continue to establish Big Ten ownership of the Crimson Tide. But that's all I've got for today. The season continues to get more and more fun with each game. Stay tuned for more recaps, and I'm excited to get a jump on another year of Boom Buster Believable. Let us know what you want to see more of as the season marches on. But if you want more from us, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm out.